Welcome back to Bizzie Beez Designs. I'm Ann Evelise. I'm so glad that you could join me today. On this channel, I like to talk about crochet, about prayer shawls, and I usually have a short devotional afterwards, and maybe some pictures or videos of where we have been able to travel and see the beauty of God's creation. We like to share those too. Okay, and if you've been with us all along, we're on part 7 of our Garden Dreams crochet blanket. And we are at the center of our work this time, and we'll be starting part 7. And from this point, we're going to start decreasing and working our way back to the end, the last corner. So this will be an important video to watch as far as the tutorial goes, but not to worry, I'll show you how to do the decreases, and it's super easy, just like the increases were. So let's go and visit with my brother, Cesar Santiago. And if you've been with us all along, you know that he takes us different places, or we're in his garden, and he shares about different plants and flowers that are around in the area that he lives in. And I choose a yarn that kind of represents that flower, the colors of the flower or the bush or the tree that he's chosen. And we put that in our blanket. Okay, so if you watch his video and you enjoy his videos, he also has a YouTube channel called Garden Dreams and Other Things. And if you really enjoy gardening things, I would encourage you to go watch one of his videos and like, share, and subscribe, not only his channel, but my channel also. And we appreciate that if you do that. So let's go over this and let's see. Here we are at part number 7. So our first one was the crocus, the daffodil, dogwood, azalea, iris, and the rhododendron. Did you not love going to the rhododendron gardens with him? That's just a beautiful place. Okay, and here we are. This is a big blanket. We're going to start on this part 7. And as you can see here, the corner is here, and we're going to be working that first row a little bit different, but we'll get to that after this video, where he's going to share with us what our next flower is. And when we come back, we'll start our tutorial, and you'll see how we're going to start that first row. It'll be different from the other rows, but then we'll continue decreasing from there on to get to the last row. And so we're going to leave you now for just a minute, and you can join Cesar and see what he's going to talk about today. And then I'll be back with the tutorial, and we'll see you later.
Hello everyone, it is summer here in the garden, and I want to talk to you today about zinnias. This is one of my favorites, and when I first started doing gardening here in my yard, I realized that I had a lot of plants that would flower in the spring, but I had nothing that would show any kind of color in the summertime. So I did a little research and found out that zinnias were a great flower to add to your garden for the summertime. And I found that they are easy to take care of, and they really are beautiful. And the great thing about these is if you plant them just after you know that there's not going to be another frost, they can last, they can bloom for 3 to 4 months. So you really get all that color through the whole summer. And this is my 3rd year planting zinnias, and each year I just enjoy it more and more. I've not only put it here in this section of the garden, I've added it to the back part of the garden, and I plan in the next years to add it in more and more areas in the garden, so that I have a good broad swash of color throughout the garden. So the great thing too is that they're cheap. It doesn't cost a lot to buy a packet. I want to say $2, $3, $4, and that will give you this out of one little packet. And when you're planting them, or when you're putting in the seeds, this is what I do, is I make sure I put my topsoil that has a little bit of compost in it. I go ahead and mix it in with the dirt that I have here. I scatter my seeds. There's no methodical way that I do the seeds. I just scatter them in the area where I want them to grow. And then I just put a thin layer of that compost and topsoil on top of it. Not a lot, just a little bit. The main reason I do that is to keep the birds from taking the seed. And then once I do that, I make sure that the soil is always moist, not saturated, but moist until the plant starts to grow. When the plant comes up above the edge, then I cut back on the watering, but I make sure that it gets sufficient water. I just don't want it sitting in water. That's the key to it. And then as they grow, you can water them 2 to 3 times a week. The other thing that you need to pay attention to is don't water on top of the zinnias. Water at the base. And so that when you do water it, make sure that you've saturated the ground real well. Zinnias like to have soil that dries out and is not wet all the time. So that's what you need to look out for. Because if you don't do that, then you end up with there's a fungus or kind of a mold that it makes the leaves like a milky white, and it's really bad for zinnias. And so you need to avoid that at all costs. And if you do that, you're going to have this color in your garden for the whole summertime. There's another one that I found out when I went to the nursery this year. It's called, this is the common zinnia, which grows 3 to 4 feet high, but there's a dwarf zinnia that grows up to about a foot in height. And the leaves are not broad like this, they're really narrow, but they're just as beautiful, and they work well in areas where you have plants that are not very tall. Now I like this common zinnia here because I have this huge crepe myrtle, and I like the positioning of this. It fits more and it makes more sense than having something tiny at the base of such a large crepe myrtle. So the common zinnia works perfect for here, but I'm using the dwarf zinnia in other areas of the garden where I have a lot of green, but I need that pop of color in there. And so those are about 12 inches high, and they have the same kind of broad spectrum of color that these have, and just as beautiful as these are, and just as durable and long lasting as these are. So you've got a couple of options there, and that's why I really feel like this is a good choice. So if you're thinking about adding color to your garden in the summer, then zinnia is your choice. And the other benefit to this, if you're a big fan of bees and especially butterflies, I've noticed that since I put in the zinnias, all kinds of butterflies show up. So if you really enjoy that, then that's another reason why you should put zinnias in your garden. So this is what I want to share with you today about zinnias, and make plans next year when you do your garden to add zinnias to it.
Okay, did you enjoy visiting with Cesar and in his garden? I know that I do. Every time we get to hear and go with him wherever he decides to take us, and see the beautiful flowers that he's sharing with us about. So I thought to start off with, we'd just go over our blanket here since we're halfway, and just a reminder that the what I'm working here is a sample, so it's quite a bit smaller than your blanket would be. And I'm just doing 10 rows. Your blanket calls for 20 rows of each color. So remember, we did the crocus, the daffodil, and the next one we did was dogwood. And on this one, I chose uh, another yarn that was a little bit, the colors were a little bit darker than the original that's in the original blanket. And I think I like this better. Then this one is the azalea, and then the iris, the rhododendron, and then today we're going to start with the zinnias. Okay, and what yarn are we going to use? You know, zinnias come in so many different bright colors. It was just really hard for me to choose the yarn that I wanted. Plus, also, sometimes I wish I could dye my own yarn. Maybe I'll get into that. It was hard to find something that I really liked, but I ended up using Dottie, Premier Dottie, and this one is DK White, and the color is Pansies. And I just chose it because it has those bright colors like the zinnias do. Whenever you see different zinnias blooming in your garden, there's also zinnias that are a deep burgundy color, and some other colors that are different from what I have here. But there again, you can choose whatever you want to choose to represent the zinnia flower in your blanket. Okay, and we're using a size H hook, just reminding you of that. I used, for the big blanket, I used two skeins actually, a full one and then a small portion of the second one. Okay, I'm going to set that right there. And this is my second time filming this tutorial. I have a tendency to wander off the side of the camera, and I want to try to be more centered as I do this. So hopefully this one will turn out better. All right, and so if you recall, we attach our yarn with this, make a slip knot and then attach your yarn to where you left off with your rhododendron yarn. You'll attach your yarn that you're going to use for the zinnia and chain 3. And like I said, this is going to be a different row because it has to have the same amount of 3 double crochet groups. I'm going to be working it even, so we're going to work this row just a little different than we did the other rows. This row, like the last row, will have 120 groups of 3 double crochets. Okay, and so like I said, you attach your yarn, chain 3. And then this row that we're starting is 121. And like I said, it'll have the same as your last row. This row here that was 120 groups of 3 double crochets. Okay, and you're going to chain 3, and then in the next double crochet, you see that there's that first one, that second double crochet, I'm going to work 2 double crochets, and we're going to start each row just like that, with just 2 double crochets in that first stitch. And remember, we were working in these spaces here, working our groups of 3 double crochets. Well, this row, what we're going to be doing is skipping 2 double crochets in that third one, which is the center double crochet. You'll be working 3 double crochets. Skip 2, 1, 2, in that center double crochet again. You're going to work 3 double crochets. And you're just going to continue that all the way across the row. Super simple, easy to remember. And hopefully, once we start with the decreased sections, it seems like the blanket goes quicker, and also you have less blanket to deal with. It gets heavy when when you finish a row and try to turn it to start your next row. It gets kind of heavy. Either in the summer, if you're working on this, be in an air-conditioned room, or work on it during the winter or the fall when it's cooler, if you want to do that. Some people it doesn't bother. They will work on blankets any time of year, and the heat doesn't bother them. So I hope everyone's having a good summer, that you've been able to enjoy the good weather. I know some people haven't had a lot of good weather because of the storms and everything that come racing across the country, but I'm hoping that you've had some good days and been able to enjoy the the sunshine and be out and about. Um, our winters here are long, and so when spring and summer and fall roll along, everyone's outdoors. They're camping, they're biking, swimming, they're doing everything they can to enjoy the outdoors. And it is a beautiful place. We don't get a lot of rain in the summertime. So you basically wake up to nice weather every day unless there's a fire in the area. And then you get cloudy days like we had yesterday. Was kind of weird. The sky was yellow from the smoke. So you have that to deal with too. So just enjoy those sunshiny days when you get them. Okay, we're just going along here. Oops, my hook caught there. Skipping 2 double crochets and working 3 in that middle double crochet. All right, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to pause and come back whenever I'm near the end of the row and show you how we'll end this row. Okay, see you in a few. Let me get this one last one done and pause. Okay, we're getting near the end now, and just a few more to go. This weekend we were visiting with our daughter, and she took us to a garden area, and she lives near Seattle, and it was a beautiful little garden. And to my surprise, they had a section that was just zinnias, and oh, it was so pretty. I really enjoyed that. They also had a rose garden, and they had a water feature, and all around the water feature they had hydrangeas growing there. And oh my goodness, we enjoyed that so much. It was cool, it was beautiful, and yeah, it was a good afternoon spent there. She said she likes to take visitors there, and also sometimes she'll get with her friends and they'll grab lunch and just go eat lunch there. Okay, we're coming near the end here, and I hope you're moving along quite nicely. Have here we go with our 3 groups of 3 double crochets. Coming close to the last one. 3, 2. This is our countdown. And 1. All right, so we're at our last one, and again we'll skip 2 double crochets in that center one. I'm going to work 2 double crochets just like we did in the beginning. In the very first one we worked 2, and then we're going to pop over here to where our chain 3 is, and in that loop right there I'm going to work my last double crochet. Hi, I just thought I would pop in here real quick because I needed to do a correction in the pattern, and I wanted to do that before you start the section of the blanket where we start doing the decreases um, in our blanket. So the problem that I found was having a chain 3 at the beginning of every decrease row made one part of the blanket longer than the other part. So we want both sections to be equal in size. And a chain 3 at the beginning made that decrease, the side where we start decreasing made it longer than the other side. So we're going to correct that. And what I want you to do is instead of starting your decrease row with a chain 3, we will start each decrease row from this point on to the end of the blanket. Start each decrease row with a chain 2, and then continue to work your stitches as indicated in the tutorial. And I hope that this will clear up any issues that you might have with the sides being different in their dimensions. So once again, instead of using a chain 3, you'll start every decrease row with a chain 2 to the very end of your row, and ignore my instruction in the tutorial that says to start with a chain 3. Okay. All right, and now chain 3, and we're going to start our decreases. And we're going to start it the same way we did the other, or we started the other, this row. You chain 3, and in that second, oops, I have to think about this for just a minute. Yeah, we're going to skip, because we're decreasing, we'll skip that first group of 3 double crochets. Okay, and in this middle double crochet, you see that? We're going to work our 2 double crochets. 1, 2. It feels odd doing it, but that's how we're going to do our decrease. And you'll see, let me work a couple more groups of 3. And we're going to work along. Oops. I'm going to get us all messed up here. Let's forget that. Forget what I just told you. Okay. Your chain 3, and this is going to be worked just like we did our other rows. We're going to be working in the space between the 3 double crochets, and in that space you're going to work 2 double crochets. So you're going to have to rewind and forget what I told you about about working in the center of your group. Okay, now here we go. We're going to start working in the spaces again, just like we did through the rest of our blanket. It was only this last row that we worked in the groups of 3 double crochets in that center one. So we're going to crochet along in each space 3 double crochets. Now you can see how nicely that is. Here's the corner, and then you're starting your decrease, and it's going to go in like that as you continue to decrease along the way. Working in the spaces, work 3 double crochet. And once again, we're going to work all the way across the row the same way, working in your spaces, working 3 double crochets. And when you get to the end of the row, we're going to kind of imitate what we did in the beginning. And how you're going to do that is in your last space right here, you're going to work 2 double crochets right here, and then you will work 1 double crochet in this chain 3 space. Okay, I'm going to pause the video and see if we can capture just that last stitch for you, and we'll be back in just a minute. Oops, sorry about that. Okay, we're getting near the end here. I love this yarn. It's so fun to work with it because it has those little pops of color as you go along. In the white, you've got that bright yellow and the purple color, and then the hot pink color. It's just really pretty. Plus, also, it's a very soft yarn. I enjoy working with it because it's so soft. It's not rough on your hands or anything like that. Premier yarns are really nice yarns. I like to use, I wish they had a bigger variety of yarn, and I wish that they would start making like hand-dyed or hand-painted yarn, sock yarn, I think that would be beautiful to work with. Maybe we'll have to suggest that to them because their yarns are very nice. And we're back in kind of the gold color here. I'm going on to purple again. So we're going to have some purple. Just kind of pooled together with the other purple. They jumped in the pool together. Okay. Here's our countdown. I think this is 5 and 4. Coming down. 3. I might be wrong. I just kind of guessed at what space we were on. No, that was actually, this is going to be our last space here. So we have 3 to go. 1. And 1 more. Okay, we're going to end like we started our row with just 2 double crochets in that space. We did it in the first space. We're going to do it in the last space. 2 double crochets, and our 3rd double crochet is going to go right in that section where the chain 3 is. Going to work it there, and we're at the end of the row. There you go. You can see how it's starting to pull in to form that corner. I think it looks very nice. Okay. So that's it for now. Maybe I'll show you one more time how to decrease at the beginning. You just chain 3, turn it, and we're going to skip this, and in that first space work our 2 double crochets. And then from this point on, all the way across the row, you're going to work 3 double crochets in every space. And you'll just continue decreasing in that way until you have done 20 rows. So here we're on row 3. Yay. Okay, and when you have finished 20 rows, then you're finished with this section, and we will see you next time, and we'll see what flowers Cesar has chosen for us, or maybe he might take us somewhere to visit a place where they have the flowers that he's going to talk about. So I'm looking forward to it. He always has good things to share. And if you want, you can stay and for the next section of this video and for just a little inspirational word or devotional that I have at the end of all my videos. I hope you enjoy and that you have a good week or 2 weeks until we see you again, and work on section 8 of our blanket. Take care and blessings. Bye. Today we are at in Vancouver in Canada, and we're at a place called the Flying Beaver, which is where some airplanes will come in and land, the float planes land on water here. There's also a restaurant, and it's a hub where planes come and go. So throughout the video you might hear airplane sounds because we're near the airport, but it's a beautiful view from here for the city of Vancouver. So I hope you enjoy this little, it's a different kind of view, but I hope you enjoy it. So today we're going to talk about the Zinnia, a symbol of friendship. And I always do a little bit of research about the meanings of the different flowers. And according to flowermeaning.com, the Zinnia has several meanings, including thoughts of friends, endurance, daily remembrance, goodness, and lasting affection. You can kind of put that all together to say that it's a symbol of a daily remembrance of good, lifelong, lasting friendships. It's near Mother's Day when I was writing this devotional, and I decided to buy some Zinnias to give to the women in my life group. We haven't been lifelong friends, but I guess you could say that we are at the start of our friendship journey. I wanted to give them these flowers so that they could plant them in their flower gardens. I appreciated them so much and enjoy sharing life with them and praying together and encouraging one another. We all have friendships at many different levels. Some people enter our lives just for a short time but make a big impact. Others are just passing friendships. And then there are others that end up being lifelong friends. You know, the kind of lifelong friends that even though you may live many miles apart, yet when you connect again, it's like you pick up where you left off and continue on. Friendship is a beautiful thing, yet we may hesitate to even start a friendship because of past hurts, deceptions, and betrayals. We're cautious and fearful of opening up one more time, hoping that we will not be hurt. Sometimes that fear can keep us from having a very beautiful, close friendship with someone, which causes us to miss out on a lot of blessings in our lives. There are people I call on when I need prayer or encouragement, or when I have a close friendship with someone. And those people are long-lasting friendships and are friendships worth maintaining. They bring blessing to both parties involved. These are friendships worth working towards and developing wherever you go. As always, I like to add a few scriptures at the end just for us to meditate on, and these are specifically about friendship. The first one is from Proverbs 17:17 from the Passion Translation. A dear friend will love you no matter what, and a family sticks together through all kinds of trouble. Ecclesiastes 4:9-12 says, Two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. Also, if two lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? Though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. Proverbs 18:24 says, Some friendships don't last for long, but there is one loving friend who is joined to your heart, closer than any other. And this last one is my favorite. Proverbs 27:9. Sweet friendships refresh the soul and awaken our hearts with joy. For good friends are like the anointing oil that yields the fragrant incense of God's presence. I want to encourage you to think of the people that the Lord has placed in your lives that have been a blessing and an encouragement to you, and maybe send them some zinnias, or plant some in your garden to remind you of them and give thanks to the Lord for placing them in your life. Thank you for joining me for today's devotional, and I just ask that the Lord bless you and that you have a beautiful day.